Welcome to Deer and Deer Hunting, practical and comprehensive information for whitetail deer hunters, where the whitetail is always the star of the show.
Today's episode will provide you with some advanced tactics for hunting in extreme conditions. But first, let's check out this exciting hunt.
Bottom line, at the end of the day, they both have their applications. I use them both regularly.
Putting in a food plot's great, but what happens when you can't get to it, hunt it, and get out safe?
Refuge or sanctuary.
Deer and Deer Hunting TV, 20 years. This is our 20th year on television.
Yes. So the whole process, I'm going to give Deb Knauer, which is our former publisher, some kudos here.
First boss.
Yeah, she kind of saw the writing on the wall, and this goes back when the Outdoor Channel, when nobody knew about it, like when they'd throw a party and there'd be 10 or 15 guys from the industry with a bunch of
1990s.
a bunch of no names that nobody knew would be there eating their free shrimp and drinking their free beer. We were part of that, but we never jumped on the channel. But Deb saw kind of like, the foresight to see that TV was going to be popular. And even though we didn't launch that show back then, she invested in a couple cameras.
Remember those cameras?
Oh, yeah.
What were they, like Sony's? Or I think they were like 10 grand a piece. Remember we were carrying those things around?
Oh, my God. And then we didn't.
No clue. There we go, right there. This is it.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I ran.
Remember this
JVC.
monster?
That is the one I ran.
JVC. Remember that?
Yeah.
This thing's got to be 20 inches long.
Oh, yeah.
It weighs probably close to 10 pounds.
And now we're shooting higher quality video cameras that are half this size,
We
and
shoot stuff
there's
on
total
phones
light.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to touch on what you said. That was the Outdoor Channel launched in '94. Debbie furthered that idea in 1997, but we didn't start until it would have been 2005.
Yep. And we did some cool things. And you know this, Dan, but a lot of you guys that have never seen the older shows, it's pretty amazing. We put a full-size oak tree in the warehouse.
White oak.
White oak, and hung a tree stand in it so that we could recreate the shots. Let's go ahead and recreate that shot. I'm going to show you what I should have done. I'm going to shoot the deer first as it's quartering towards, and I should have aimed a little bit higher, and then I'm going to show you what just 5 more yards will do to open up that shot. And then we did a thing on shot placement where we say the deer is the star of the show. We really want to try to educate people on either whitetail facts, whitetail biology, any of that type of information that makes you a better hunter, including shot placement.
You're talking about the shot simulator. Remember we were standing around that table and we rated the shots?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we would have videos of, a lot of it was supplied video. Some guy was filming his own hunt. And then we had the segment, and then it was you or me or somebody else from the staff would come on and say, okay, here's the shot. We'd show it, and then you'd rate it. And I think we should probably bring that back for a little bit because I think it was very helpful.
Brad, nice buck comes in, but terrible angle. What happened here?
Outdoor television was a child born of an unrelenting love for the outdoors and a drive to propel an industry to new heights. In the 1990s, personalities like Tom Miranda, David Blanton, Michael Waddell, and Lee and Tiffany Lakowski all paved the way for other avid hunters to enjoy success in an industry that had until then only existed in print publications. Deer and Deer Hunting took a different approach to TV. Rather than focus on personalities, DDH chose to stay true to its roots and make the white-tailed deer the star of the show. The producers believed practical and comprehensive information about what makes deer tick would never go out of style. They were right.
Ours is more educational entertainment as opposed to, I don't know what you would call it with somebody else, but
and if you look at content, just look at content alone, like those other shows, they're with one of those celebs all the time, right? Our show is literally showing more deer footage, and when you're talking about deer dispersal, right, we're showing the young bucks dispersing and why they're doing it. It's not so much, the person, it's more about the animals.
And all the credit for that stuff goes to our root base. Our root base was the Stump Sitters.
Yeah.
Started in 1973, which gave way to Deer and Deer Hunting. Guys like John Ozoga and Lenny Rue and Charlie Alsheimer and, Bob Zaglin and people from across the country that gave us this base. It's not our knowledge. It's the knowledge from an entire North American people who embrace whitetails. So let me pause there for a second, Brad, and I wanted to say, so I get to go first because I know you're going to steal this. You have to pick your favorite contributor from the television show for over the years, and I'm going to start with Charlie.
Welcome to Deer and Deer Hunting TV. I'm Charlie Elsheimer. The subject of food plots is a hot topic among land managers today. Across America, whitetail hunters want to learn all they can. Food plot management is a very comprehensive subject, and today on Deer and Deer Hunting, Neil Doherty of North Country Whitetails and I will show you the ins and outs of how you can get started with your very own food plots.
Charles J. Elsheimer, he was a dear friend of ours. He passed away in 2017. He worked as a freelancer for Deer and Deer Hunting for almost 30 years. He started in 1979. His contributions to the television show, I can't even begin to describe what Charlie meant, because when we were talking about the deer at the start of the show, most of that footage came from Charlie's enclosure in New York. It wasn't a hunting enclosure, it was a research facility.
Oh, yeah.
All those pictures you saw that Charlie took, all the behavior that you saw on the snort wheeze that we had in the introduction for years, the deer jumping over a fence. Charlie I always said he had those things trained like dolphins. He could have that buck, and I was scared. It would come within a yard of you and start making a rub. But that's where we really started getting some of that. People are saying, how are you getting this footage? Well, of course you're not going out onto, some public land and getting a buck to come up and make a rub. But that's how we really got into the up close and personal.
Yep.
But then Charlie's his aura. He was a devout Christian. He was the most upstanding man that you would ever know, and his whole thing was kind of had his way about him. He kind of had that little. He was a basketball player. He was competitive, but he was confident, but also so humble that he'd always say, "Dan, pass it on. Pass on that knowledge. Pass on whatever skill that you can to somebody else to allow them to further their career, their education, whatever it happened to be." But I would have to say Charlie Elsheimer would have to be my number one.
Oh, we had so many people, but the one thing that I always liked is when we got some of those biologists involved. Jeremy Flynn, you're doing it with Auburn right now.
Steve Hitchcock.
Steve Hitchcock. That's the stuff I like, because some of that information that is being portrayed, not only I don't know about some of it, but the average guy, if I don't know about it, I'm a whitetail geek. I'll not. You're a whitetail geek, man. And some of the research that they're doing to get that portrayed into the show is so cool, because I think it makes us a better hunter overall. So, even today's, if you look at the contributors, there's not a bad one that we have in there. Kaiser does a great job, I think.
He is everything we didn't even think he was. He's way bigger than we thought he was.
Kaiser's just excited in general.
He's just excited in general.
Just the hand stuff, and I love that interaction. I just think it makes the show so much more entertaining when the person's passionate, and that's what we are.
To me, it harkens back to the day when we were kids, and there wasn't a deer and deer hunting. There might have been a sports of field or outdoor life of Field and Stream, and we saw those stories about hunting in Africa or something. It's like, man, I would love to do that.
Exactly.
And now you see Kaiser, belly crawling for a whitetail. It gives you a different perspective. And also I think it educates you on deer behavior. Even though it's taking place in a different terrain, it makes other things make sense.
As you can see, there's a lot to learn. You're not going to want to miss this next segment.
Deer and Deer Hunting TV is brought to you by
All right. Tell me when. All right. Several factors can affect antler growth. All right. Is that the right tone, though? All right.
When looking at the reasons why antlers don't grow, I think it's important to back up and look at antlers. Okay, try it again.
The trend in hunting
nutrition is the only thing that we can do to provide them with the right environment.
I wasn't prepared for this. I had a couple radio, TV, film classes in college, but I never thought I was going to be doing anything on TV. I'll tell you that right now.
And why were we on TV? It's because we were so cheap as a company.
Exactly.
We're not buying some talent, right? You are going to be on TV.
Yeah.
You're going to be on TV.
Congratulations, you're going to be on TV.
Yeah,
we're going to have a TV show, and you guys are going to be the host.
Yeah, figure it out, right?
So, am I going to get more money for it? No, you're not.
Yeah.
What did Deer and Deer Hunting TV bring to television that wasn't already there 20 years ago?
Well, the big thing I'm going to go is, there was no ego, no stardom, no nothing. We were just trying to educate the general population to become better whitetail hunters. And I think we did that very, very well. I think some of the subject matter, people don't know the effort that went into that. We would plan those 13 shows kind of like for content way before, and then try to get that footage.
Remember the meetings?
To support that. Oh yeah, huge meetings, everybody in a room, and we're kicking out some of that information that was just so critical, and try to support that show. And I think nobody was really doing that at the time.
I don't think they were either. I'm going to piggyback on that. There's 3 things that I think that Deer and Deer Hunting brought to. This is testament to everybody every producer, every editor, every person who's been on camera, every contributor, every viewer. I think Deer and Deer Hunting TV has brought, in 20 years, brought legitimacy, honesty, and humility to outdoors television. And I'm not saying that to boast. That's for me as a passerby watching, because when I see the shows and how they're put together, from 20 years ago to today.
Oh, yeah.
What we did is, what would my dad want to watch? What would my brother, what would my buddy, what would that guy that I met at the grocery store who's a deer hunter, what would they want to watch and what would they want to learn? And I have to give credit to Jack Brower, one of the Deer and Deer Hunting founders. And when I remember when I did some speaking engagements,
yep.
He just said, Dan, we did a lot of those, and the thing that I always try to do is teach somebody something that they didn't know. And because that could be a kid or that could be a guy who's 80. And I think we brought that with every television show. I think there's something within every show that wasn't just, hey, I'm going deer hunting, I'm going to kill a deer today. It was, we brought something and educated, or we just fostered that love of the hunt, which David had a great show that will still bring me to tears about my dad last year, that I had so many people stop me and say, that's my dad. That's how my dad, and to me that means a lot, because we're embodying, that television show is embodying what deer and deer hunting, the subjects, mean to all of us. Hey, from everybody here at Deer and Deer Hunting TV, we want to thank you for all your support over these 20 years. 20 years on television, Deer and Deer Hunting TV, where the deer is always the star of the show.
Scents these days are very specific to certain times of the year. So it's nice to have a scent option that you could use anytime, but especially when the pre-rut starts. That's Trails End 307 from Wildlife Research Center. And it has their scent reflex technology in it. So it's a good scent to use anywhere across the country, anywhere across Canada. Why is this such a good scent? Well, because it not only piques curiosity in deer throughout the year, but it also works to trigger deer, buck deer, the kind you're after, during the pre-rut. Now, Trails End 307 comes with its own wick packaged right with it. So you can use it that way by dipping it into the scent and then hanging your wick. Now, a good way to do that is to hang your wick, this scent, upwind of your stand, creating a window between you and your stand, your shooting lane, your trail. So when the animal comes down that path it's going to be distracted in looking toward that scent. But it's also going to be sending scent all the way downwind to attract. Now, any scent, you should be very careful about your own scent. So when you're hanging this, you definitely want to use gloves, whether it's a latex glove or your clean hunting gloves that you've washed in Wildlife Research laundry soap. But make sure everything you're touching is not leaving human scent. Some people, they even use a Ziploc bag. They put the wick in that, and then when they're hanging it, they're actually touching it through the Ziploc bag, hang it up, and when you bring the bag down, hey, the wick's up there, scent free. Trails End 307, it's a great all-around scent. Put in front of your trail cameras, make deer stop right there in a shooting lane or along a trail. And it works throughout the year, but especially the pre-rut.
Okay, so you want a brand new crossbow, but you don't want to spend thousands of dollars and you want quality. And you want to decock it. You can have all of that for a little over 700 bucks. That's not so bad for a really nice crossbow. This is the Wicked Ridge Raider 400 decock. So it basically, the name says it all there, 400 feet per second. I can decock it. It's a tactical, almost like an AR style platform, very light, like 5 pounds some ounces. Super light, anybody can handle this. Child, young adult, woman, whatever, me. The other thing too is what people shy away on is the manual cock crossbows. They're not that hard to cock. Just about anybody can do it. This has a cocking sled. The string goes right behind the scope on that little notch down, and I'm on the string. So then I just put my foot through the stirrup, grab onto the handles, get them even, and then one smooth motion. I'm not pulling, I'm just one smooth motion back, cock. Okay, comes to the end of the day. I didn't see a deer, I didn't get to shoot, whatever. I push this button here, and then I just lift back up on that string. You hear that click? Brings it all the way down. Decock. Safe. I can go home without having to shoot it off, without having to shoot an arrow into the dirt, whatever. Simple as that. Check that out. Very safe, fun, and accurate crossbow.